This page is the cracking front cover of N64 Pro, absolutely dripping with classic N64 goodness. You've got the main man Link from Zelda 64 right there, looking ready for action, and it's screaming about a world's first play, which is exactly the kind of exclusive look we all craved back in the day, plus details on the release date and intro. Down below, we've got some fantastic teasers. That GoldenEye 2 is, of course, Perfect Dark, an absolute masterpiece that was indeed an amazing sequel to the legendary GoldenEye. Proper top-tier stuff. There are also screenshots for games like Conker's Quest, later known as Bad Fur Day, a classic, Banjo-Kazooie, which was an essential platformer, and a glimpse of the blistering speed of 064. They're also promising hints, tips, and cheats for every game, including guides for shooters like Quake and Forsaken. This cover is pure N64 hype, promising a deep dive into all the essential games of the era. This page gives us a cracking look at Weetrix on the left side, asking, is it hot air? With scores like 91% from the Nintendo official mag, and 93% Total 64, and lines calling it fast-paced and highly addictive with a uniquely refreshing bit of fun, it's pretty clear they think it's anything but. The tagline, "Drop Everything," really hammers home how essential they thought this puzzle game was, comparing it favorably even to the mighty Tetris. Over on the right we've got the grand unveiling of their special E3 edition. They rightly big up E3 as the most important gaming event of the year, and N64 Pro is bringing the goods straight from the show floor at the World Congress Center. They've got their special CNAT tag for world exclusives and hit for games that are going to blow your mind later in the year. Handy little markers those. The lads checking out the games were clearly impressed with the graphics on show, and they're telling us straight to trust their judgment when they say some upcoming games are going to be absolutely brilliant, even if they're still a ways off. Seems like E3 98 was quite the show. This page is the bustling contents page, fronted by the legendary Link himself, pulling back his bowstring, ready for action, because yes, Zelda 64 is the huge cover story this month. You can see the N64 Pro logo, and a classic N64 pad, looking as good as ever. They've got a special report fresh off the back of E3, carrying on from last month's mention, which you know is always essential viewing. Then there are your regular features like Software House League tables, peripherals, and that always entertaining feedback section. The preview section gives us a glimpse at things like WWF Warzone, described rather colorfully as Spandex Ballet. And they're talking about hitting the E3 press conferences for the lowdown on big hitters like Perfect Dark and Banjo-Kazooie. The review section this month covers All-Star Baseball, Buster Move 2, Clay Fighter 63 and a third, which gets a less than enthusiastic review description, and Biofreaks. Apparently, the reviewer for Biofreaks is a bit of a freak for beat-em-ups, which sounds about right for that one. They're also dishing out codes, tips and guides for games like Forsaken and Quake 64. Oh, and look, they're giving away a free book and stickers packed with details on 50 new games. Proper treasure that. Plus, a little dig about the competition from last month, revealing where Mario's head was hidden. Always a good laugh, the loft. This page gives us the full lowdown from E3, as promised. It kicks off with the absolute behemoth that is Zelda 64, set to drop in November. They're calling it the greatest adventure game of all time, and raving about its revolutionary 64-bit power, cinema-quality moments, and being the biggest N64 game ever at a whopping 256 megabits. Sounds like Miyamoto, and the crew really pulled out all the stops. Ne Yinu Cheshu. Then there's Rare's dynamic duo, Banjo-Kazooie. This 3D platformer is another E3 highlight, looking stunning and packed with moves. They reckon it sets the standard for next-gen experiences. Pretty high praise. Speed Demons get a look in with F-Zero X. This one's all about pure, unadulterated pace, hitting a blistering 60 FPS even with 30 vehicles on screen. They even suggest wearing daft Velcro wrist things. Fair warning. We also get a proper peek at Rare's Perfect Dark, the spiritual successor to GoldenEye. It promises a deeper story, more gadgets, an eye that's apparently 200 times better. Big claims indeed. And finally, the somewhat cutesy but intriguing 12 Tales, Conker's Quest. Initially looking like something out of a storybook, it's a free-roaming 3D adventure, with 2 playable characters, aiming for emotional depth. Looks like Rare were on a roll back then. E3 2023 saw the announcement of DexDrive, a PC game save management tool, alongside the disappointing news that the 64DD still lacks a flagship game. The event saw record attendance, with 41,000 attendees. Notable games include Duck Dodgers in the Third Dimension, Looney Tunes Puzzle Adventure, Shadowman, dark third-person action with zombie decapitation, Madden NFL 99, top-tier American football sim, NASCAR 99, realistic racing, Fighting Force, N64 beat-em-up with 3D coupe, Extreme Sports, N64 original with bungee jumping, and Charlie Blast's Challenge, puzzle game in the vein of Lemmings and Lost Vikings. This page is packed with news and previews, giving us a glimpse into what was coming down the pipeline. We've got a look at GT64 Championship Edition, promising blistering speed and incredible graphics with real GT association circuits and official teams. Sounds like it's aiming for that realistic racing vibe. Then there's Major League Baseball featuring Ken Griffey Jr., which Nintendo reckons is technically superior to the competition with better graphics and a bold claim, but it sounds like they're putting their weight behind it as a powerhouse addition to their sports lineup. We also see Iggy's Wrecking Balls, a rather unusual vertical platform racer, with over 100 levels and distinct environments, promising multiplayer fun and loads of power-ups, though they're reserving judgment until they play it properly. Gek64. Enter the Gecko is making the jump from PlayStation, offering a 360-degree free-roaming 3D adventure set in bizarre dimensions that parody television, complete with Gex's wisecracking dialogue, wall climbing and fancy effects. Seems like a proper platforming challenge. Finally, there's Glover, Hasbro's foray into Yen 64 gaming, a 3D arcade adventure where you play as a wizard's glove, using a crystal ball to solve puzzles and battle enemies across themed worlds like Atlantis and Carnival. Plus, Knife Edge, Nose Gunner, a sci-fi shoot-'em-up touted for its revolutionary gameplay and explosive, blisteringly fast action in 3D environments. Sounds like pure arcade chows, just how we like it. A variety of upcoming games are previewed, including Mike Piazza's Strike Zone, Looney Tunes Space Race for Christmas, Konami's World Cup game, ISS 98, October release, a South Park game, NBA Live 99 October, Duke Nukem, Time to Kill, Mortal Kombat 4 in 3D, and Mission Impossible Christmas. Each game promises unique features, from power-ups and realistic football simulations, to third-person time travel adventures, and a 60 FPS 3D fighting game. Please provide the text you would like me to summarize. Fajradoha. Several upcoming Nintendo 64 titles are highlighted. The Devil Rides Out features a Tasmanian delivery boy dodging obstacles, while Odd Destruction Thing promises action and vast worlds with motion capture. So You Wanna Be a Jester is a gangster-themed game, and Quest 64 is a potential RPG with a large 3D world. Shooting Stars is a space-based juggling game, and Quarterback's Back aims to compete with Madden NFL. Finally, Survivor is a graphically ambitious title, with motion capture, alien environments, and biospheres. Several upcoming N64 games are highlighted. GeForce, a large-scale shooter with free movement, is slated for next year. Shadowgate 64, a remake of a NES game, is due in December. Turok 2, Seeds of Evil is touted as an improved and more ominous sequel. Worm-Hearted, a 3D earthworm gym, promises cartoonish characters and environments. Finally, Twisted Edge Snowboarding, a 4-player snowboarding game compatible with the Rumble Pack, is also on the horizon for Christmas. N64 news includes wacky titles like Bubonic Man and Rat Attack, serious wrestling games from THQWW Nitro, WCW/NWO Revenge, Psygnosis's racing game Wipeout 64, Gremlins Time Travel Adventure, I've Got a Brand New Body Harvester, DMA Designs Bizarre Sheep and Chips, and the chess game Virtual Chess 64. Many promise innovative gameplay, diverse characters, and large 3D environments. The N64 Pro Software House Leagues, a football-style ranking of game publishers, places Nintendo at the top of the Premier League. Acclaim is rising, while GT Interactive struggles. Nintendo's quality is lauded in the Hall of Fame, contrasted by a Hall of Shame highlighting questionable releases from a likely THQ. Acclaim's Forsaken is named Player of the Month. The N64 Dream Team showcases top titles like Mario Kart 64, GoldenEye 007, and Super Mario 64, alongside strong substitutes. The system uses game quality to rank publishers, providing a fun and insightful look at top N64 games. The next page kicks off with the all-important release schedule, a beast to compile apparently, according to Poor Steve. It's packed with dates for upcoming N64 titles, broken down by region if you care about that sort of thing. We've got a big splash featuring the return of Earthworm Jim in glorious 3D. Love him or hate him, you can't deny he's got style. Down the bottom, Gex the Gecko is also getting ready for his N64 debut, hoping to jump into the 3D world successfully. The magazine highlights Perfect Dark as the absolute one to watch, calling it Rare's big sequel to GoldenEye, which is certainly setting the bar high. And for the next big thing, they're hyping up Mission Impossible over Banjo-Kazooie, which is a choice. The lists themselves are comprehensive, detailing a stack of games expected throughout 1998 and beyond, covering everything from racing and sports to adventure titles. Looks like the N64 wasn't slowing down anytime soon. This page continues the all-important release schedule, pushing into 1999 and listing games with dates yet to be announced. It covers a whole heap of titles from various developers, suggesting the N64 still had plenty of life in it. Right in the middle we've got a big feature on Conquer the Squirrel, with the magazine hyping him up as a potential world conqueror. Bold prediction there, let's see if it pans out. There's also a section looking ahead at hardware, listing things like the Light Blaster 64 gun and even the Japanese 64DD add-on. Bit of a laugh pointing out that the cool new light gun doesn't actually have any games announced for it yet, typical, eh? The rest of the page is pretty much dedicated to the Gameplay mail order service, touting themselves as the UK's largest supplier. They're pushing consoles, console bundles with games, accessories like joysticks and memory cards, and a massive list of new and used N64 games available. They also list a load of other kit, from steering wheels and cheat devices, to hint books and various cables. Looks like a one-stop shop for your N64 needs, complete with a handy mail order form at the bottom. This page dives straight into a review of All-Star Baseball 99, with a bold headline suggesting that while looks aren't everything, hands up who fancies Waynetta Slob. A classic bit of British humour there, you know the type. The magazine makes a point that this game forces other developers to raise their game, giving Acclaim a nod for pushing quality. The reviewer seems generally impressed, especially with the graphics, calling them photorealistic and guaranteed to impress, and the animation is highlighted as a new video game benchmark. There are plenty of screenshots showing the action, from hitting and pitching to fielding plays and even stealing bases. They also touch upon the depth, showing off the create-a-player option where you can set attributes and pitching styles, and the game tracks individual player stats throughout the season, which is pretty neat. Although the reviewer admits baseball isn't their personal passion, a bit of a niche market in the UK, bless 'em, they give the game a stamp of approval, which for a baseball game from that era, is high praise indeed. It sounds like it gets the job done, focusing on the simulation aspect while still being enjoyable. They mention that the key is control, and feeling in charge of the outcome, which is always vital in a sports sim. Looks like a solid effort, even if it's not everyone's cup of tea over here. This page wraps up the review of All-Star Baseball 99, proudly displaying a whopping 90% score and that all-important N64 stamp of approval. The main reviewer is clearly smitten, gushing about the graphics and animation, calling it the most engrossing and realistic baseball simulation ever seen on a console. They reckon it's so realistic you might mistake it for a TV broadcast, calling it the motion non-sol. While acknowledging that baseball isn't exactly our national sport, they highly recommend it, noting only a minor graphical quirk they've cheekily nicknamed clay polling. The review also points out the smart use of the Rumble Pack to aid gameplay, which is a great example of Nintendo's hardware being used properly. You can even see a diagram showing you what all the buttons on the N64 pad actually do in the game. There are also quick takes from a few other people, Alex, Mark, Noeli, and a reader, offering slightly varied but generally positive views. Overall, despite the niche appeal over here, this sounds like an absolute winner. A review of Bust-A-Move 2 on the N64 praises its vibrant visuals and addictive gameplay. The classic bubble-matching puzzle remains intact, with players launching colored bubbles to clear lines of 3 or more. Modes include puzzle, time attack, and player versus player, with increasingly difficult levels and fast-paced action. The review highlights the frantic 2-player mode, where players try to disrupt each other's progress. The reviewer finds the game just as compelling as the original, with familiar characters and a positive overall impression. This page continues the Bust-A-Move 2 review, slapping a big fat 85% score, right there on the page. Turns out the main reviewer, No Way Kaylee, really sweated over that final number, though he admits it's just a straight port from the PSX, even more expensive apparently. But hey, it's still a cracking puzzle game, timeless and addictive, appealing to everyone, even your girlfriend if you can drag her over. He reckons it's an absolute joy. Below that, you get a few more takes from other lads like Alex, Steve, and Mark, plus a reader review, all chiming in with their thoughts, mostly agreeing it's a solid, great game, some praising its immortal status in gaming history. They even throw in a breakdown for graphics, sound, gameplay and lastability, all looking pretty rosy. You can also see a selection of screenshots highlighting bizarre intros, the puzzle mode, and the classic versus screens. A proper deep dive into what makes Bust-a-Move 2 tick, wrapping up the review nicely. This page jumps into a review of Clayfighter 63 1/3, Sculptor's Cut, and judging by the headline, seems this sculptor needs to sharpen his chisel. It's not off to a great start. Turns out the game is back, but sadly no better than before. It's a rental exclusive, at least in the US for now, which is probably a blessing given the review. They've chucked in 12 new characters, extra moves, and camera angles, but apparently, these additions do little to fix the core issues. The claymation style, while unique, is called out for its jerky animation, and the gameplay itself is deemed utterly broken. You can supposedly finish it by just mashing buttons. The humor is a bit hit and miss, featuring some oddball characters like a pervy Santa, a pumpkinhead, or a sumo wrestler. Despite the new bits and bobs, the consensus is clear. It's a dire fighting game, scoring a frankly shocking 39%. Steve, the main reviewer, calls it a travesty and an absolute joke, completely devoid of merit. The other lads, Alex, Mark and Noelle, along with a reader, all chime in to agree it's a colossal waste of time and money, suggesting you'd be better off renting pretty much anything else. Gameplay and lastability scores are a big fat 0, while graphics and sound scrape a few points. There's also a little box for reader feedback, if you fancy telling them what you think. This page gives us the lowdown on Biofreaks, and let me tell you, it's a far cry from that Clayfighter mess on the previous page. This one's all about the gore, promising detachable body parts and plenty of blood, which the reviewer seems absolutely thrilled about. Midway's had a rough run with fighting games on the N64 in the past, bless 'em, but Biofreaks looks like they might finally be getting it right. The characters are well designed and animated smoothly, and the game's packed with innovative ideas you don't see everywhere. We're talking gunplay mixed with melee and ruddy jetpacks that let you fly around the arena. The levels themselves are proper 3D environments too, ditching those flat stages of old. The screenshots show off the chow-tick fights and, yes, plenty of limbs going flying. It seems Biofreaks delivers exactly what it promises. A violent, over-the-top, beat-em-up with some genuinely fresh ideas to keep things interesting. It sounds like a proper blast, especially if you enjoy seeing digital chaps get thoroughly dismembered. This page gives us the full scoop on Biofreaks, following on from the teaser. Right off the bat you see the crew you'll be brawling with: Delta the speedy one, Bullseye with guns, Minitek and his chain, Cyclown with a hammer and laser eyes, Purge the chap with a propeller head, Sabotage handling a big gun, Sapo who's apparently difficult to take anywhere, bless him, and Zipperhead with spikes. The review digs into the gameplay, confirming that limb loss is a big deal, affecting your moves, and yes, it's got fatalities nicked straight from Mortal Kombat naturally. It even shows you the N64 controller layout, pointing out how to sidestep, use the C buttons for limbs, and fire your gun. The main reviewer admits it grew on him, finding it a playable and challenging beat-em-up, with decent visuals and a good bit of originality, especially with Nintendo finally letting a bit of blood through. It's called a Bloodfest, which sounds promising. However, he questions how long the novelty of body parts flying off will last, and reckons MK4 is still the one to wait for. There are a few other opinions too, some loving it, others not so much. Ultimately, Biofreaks gets a solid 82%, proving it's a proper gore-filled punch-up that's definitely worth a look if you're into that sort of thing. This page is all about getting an edge in your favorite games, a proper cheats encyclopedia as it calls itself. It's even offering 20 quid and some kit if you send in cheats they don't already know, which is a decent shout. Warrington, we've got cheats for loads of stuff here. For 1080 snowboarding, there are codes for hidden borders like Crystal, Metal, and Panda. Blast Core lets you blow up buildings quicker. Automobili Lamborghini gets you hidden cars and tracks. There's a section on Bomberman 64, including some codes that need an action replay cartridge if you fancy lobbing bombs about with infinite lives or credits. Speaking of action replay, there's a big chunk of codes for Duke Nukem 64, promising all sorts of infinite weapons and ammo if you've got the cart plugged in. Couldn't play Duke without infinite rockets, could you? Other games covered include Clayfighter 63 1/3 for cheat modes and hidden characters, Cruisin' USA with hidden vehicles and track tricks, Chameleon Twist for infinite health, and Doom 64 with its ultimate cheat code, which sounds rather handy for blasting demons. They've even thrown in the Diddy Kong racing codes, which were all the rage back then. You've got big heads, small characters, and various race effects. And just in case you're new to the console, there's a diagram showing where all those buttons are, titled rather aptly, "Where's that damn button?" All in all, a solid page of handy tricks to keep you busy. This page continues the deep dive into the world of N64 cheats, offering up more ways to mess with your favorite games. It kicks off strong with GoldenEye 007, not just standard cheats but a proper guide to completing the easy cradle level quickly to unlock the gold Peep 7, and even an action replay specific cheat that turns the whole game into black and white wires. Proper retro. There's a whole list of other GoldenEye cheats too, from infinite ammo to invisibility, and a table mapping cheats to specific levels, difficulties and times, which is pretty comprehensive stuff if you fancy chasing those unlocks. You've also got Extreme G, with codes that make the tracks slippery or turn the world upside down, which sounds brilliantly daft. Duke Nukem 64 gets another mention for its main menu cheats. FIFA 98 is back with action replay codes for custom scores and a player edit trick where you change a player's name to a code to unlock effects like ghost players or invisible walls. Some cracking nonsense in that list. ISS 64 offers cheats for new teams and players, while Fighter's Destiny has action replay codes for extra stars or different character types. Finally, Kobe Bryant in NBA Courtside gives you tips for alley-oops and replay glitches, and Killer Instinct Gold lets you unlock options, character colors, and even players' gargos. Plenty to keep you busy if you like bending the rules a bit. This page provides cheats for various Nintendo 64 games. Lilac Wars unlocks expert mode with specific enemy kills. Madden 64 features hidden stadiums and teams. Mortal Kombat Trilogy offers a pawn unlock and character alterations. Mortal Kombat Mythologies, Sub-Zero has code unlocks. Sports games like NHL Breakaway 98, NBA Hangtime, and NFL Quarterback Club 98 have various cheat menu options, including altered player appearances. Nagano Winter Olympics offers tricks for aerials and skiing, while Pilotwings 64 details how to find Birdman stars. Mystical Ninja starring Goemon provides extensive tips, including a powerful ninja move and hidden image unlock. Quake 64 has a debug mode and monster allergy information, and other games like San Francisco Rush, Rampage, World Tour, and Robotron 64 include extra life cheats. This page details cheats for various Nintendo 64 games, including Super Mario 64, Diddy Kong Racing, and Tetrisphere. Cheats range from altering gameplay elements, e.g. controlling ATSTS in Diddy Kong Racing, to unlocking hidden content, e.g. secret characters in Tetrisphere. Fighting games like War Gods and WCW vs. N-Nuo feature infinite continues and cheat menus. Yoshi's Story offers infinite lives, while Turok, Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey, and Top Gear Rally have cheats unlocking weapons, player sizes, or all content. Wave Race 64 lets players ride dolphins and access reverse tracks, and Snowboard Kids unlock special tricks and features. The page also highlights legendary cheats like GoldenEye glitches. Woo! This page dives deep into the dark, claustrophobic tunnels of Forsaken 64. Sick of getting blown to smithereens by floating bots? This is your essential guide to surviving that absolute blastfest. It kicks off with some general tips, telling you not to stand still like a lemon, and to get trigger-happy sound advice really. It even suggests strafing around corners and getting out of the way when enemies explode, which, let's be honest, is just good sense unless you like taking shield damage for fun. Pala. Then it gets down to the nitty-gritty, the weapons. It breaks down the primary tools of destruction, from the bog-standard pulsar, only good with power-ups apparently, to the mighty Trojax and beam laser. Following that, it details the secondary weapons, the real fun stuff, including various mines and missiles like the homing scatter and the devastating Titan bomb. Finally, there's a section on multiplayer madness, giving you pointers on staying mobile and grabbing power-ups like a greedy SO and SO. It even offers opinions on which guns are good and bad in the multiplayer arena. Apparently the Gravgon is a proper pain, which anyone who played it back in the day could tell you. A solid breakdown for anyone looking to dominate the dark depths. This page is the meat and potatoes of the Forsaken Guide, diving straight into the game's levels. It's a rider's guide, bless them, taking us through the first 10 levels from Nuke, all the way up to Death to the Invader. For each level, it gives you the main objective, and then a handy breakdown of how to actually survive the Chowdecatic mess. It's full of proper gamer advice, like remembering to kill every single enemy in a section before moving on, or telling you exactly where to find that crucial weapon or power-up. They even give you tips on boss fights, like how to deal with the tricky meta tank, or circle that big brute manmech. It's pretty detailed, guiding you through the tunnels and rooms, pointing out key items and where the pesky enemies are likely to pop out. It's got screenshots for each level too, just to give you a visual hint of what you're letting yourself in for. Honestly, if you were stuck on a particular level back in the day, this would have been a godsend. Though having played them, some of these levels still required sheer luck and a prayer. There's also a striking illustration of one of the game's characters, chilling out on the right, which is a nice touch. The next page jumps right into the thick of it with the Quake 64 walkthrough, hitting part 3 for those who found the earlier levels a bit of a handful. Noelle's here to lend a hand through the dark and damp corridors of Maps 13, Termination Central, and Map 14, the Vaults of Zin. This guide is proper detailed, walking you through each section step by step, telling you exactly where to go, which switches to flick, and where to find all those juicy secrets and essential power-ups like the quad rune and various keys. It doesn't shy away from the enemies either, pointing out where you'll tangle with everyone from grunts and enforcers to zombies, ogres, scrags, fiends, and yes, even that big brute the Shambler. There are numbered screenshots to help you visualize where you need to be or what you're looking for, and a quick rundown of the N64 controls, which is always helpful when you're knee-deep in fragging. It's the sort of guide you needed back then to navigate these tricky levels. This page is carrying on with that essential Quake 64 walkthrough, picking up the thread right where we left off. Here we're diving into the delights of Map 15, the Tomb of Terror, and the rather invitingly named Map 16, Satan's Dark Delight. It's laid out just like before, giving you numbered instructions and corresponding screenshots so you know exactly what you're looking at. Handy, isn't it? You'll be guided through navigating the levels, knowing precisely which switches to hit, which enemies to dispatch. And there are plenty of nasty bits like ogres, death knights, scrags, and even a shambler or two lurking about. And where to uncover those all-important secret areas and vital pickups like the silver key, armor, or even the mighty quad rune. Honestly, trying to find your way through these levels without a guide back then could be a bit of a nightmare, so having this step-by-step breakdown, telling you how to progress, where the baddies are hiding, and even pointing out a secret level exit, well, it just saved you a world of pain. Proper useful stuff if you were struggling. This page carries on with the excellent Quake 64 walkthrough, taking us through the rather unpleasant-sounding Map 17, the Chambers of Torment, and the slightly more intriguing Map 18, the Haunted Halls, which is helpfully noted as a secret mission. Just like before, it's laid out beautifully with clear, numbered instructions and corresponding pictures showing you exactly where to go and what to shoot. You're guided step by step through getting the Ring of Shadows, wading through lava, dealing with all sorts of nasty creatures like ogres, death knights, and those annoying hovering scrags, and even how to wake up Mr. Vor for a pineapple feast. Good luck with that. It details finding various keys, hitting crucial switches to open up new areas, including multiple secret areas, and grabbing vital power-ups like quad damage, mega health, and even a pentagram of protection. There's a particular note about dealing with fiends, leaping out of hidey holes, and navigating rooms filled with ogres and zombies. Honestly, trying to figure out some of these traps and hidden paths on your own back then was enough to make you pull your hair out, so this guide was an absolute lifesaver for getting through these brutal levels and finding all those hidden goodies. Proper useful stuff. The next page continues the essential Quake 64 walkthrough, taking us into Map 19, the Tower of Despair. It shows you how to immediately grab the boomstick, and then guides you through the level, battling the usual suspects like knights, ogres and vors. There's a sneaky shambler lurking about, so you'll need to be on your toes. It details navigating tricky areas with beams and water, hitting hidden switches, and locating multiple secret areas, including one with a double-barreled shotgun. Handy. The guide also covers dealing with death knights, and avoiding some rather unpleasant nail traps before you finally make your way out via a teleport. Then it's on to Map 20, the Elder God Shrine, the big finale level, which ratchets up the difficulty considerably and introduces the terrifying spawn. The walkthrough leads you through grabbing vital power-ups like mega health and quad damage, dealing with fiends, ogres, zombies and scrags that pop up unexpectedly. It covers using lifts, finding more secret areas for goodies, collecting necessary keys, and even finding the powerful Ring of Shadows. Finally, it gives you the choice of heading for the level exit, or finding the path to the legendary hidden level, the Nameless City. Absolutely crucial guidance for finishing off this brutal game back in the day. This Quake 64 walkthrough covers Map 21, the Palace of Hate, emphasizing quick grenade launcher use against the initial fiend. Players must navigate knights, scrags, lifts, hidden switches, and secret areas for powerful armor and items. Grenade and rocket jumps are crucial to activate slipgates. Map 22, the Pain Maze, requires maximizing the quad damage rune. Players face standard enemies and spawn/vor, along with navigating tricky mazes, shooting glass ceilings, swimming, and crossing beams. Secrets include additional keys, and the BFG, and the guide highlights the red altar's reactive enemies. This page continues the Quake 64 walkthrough, diving into the murky depths of Map 23, Azure Agony. You start facing off against a shambler. Best use your powerful weapons there, lads. It's all about navigating pools, blasting switches to raise stairs and lifts, and keeping an eye out for those sneaky fiends and death knights lurking about. Don't miss the Ring of Shadows, or the quad rune hiding in secret spots. You'll be doing a bit of swimming and platforming, shooting distant switches, and trying to avoid vortices and shamblers popping up unexpectedly. Then it's on to Map 24, the Nameless City, which is a bit of a secret mission treat. This one's packed with ogres, fiends and zombies, so keep that quad damage handy. You'll be working your way through scaffolding, lifts, and spike-trapped corridors, hitting switches to progress, and grabbing keys and runes. It sounds like you'll be teleporting around a bit too, so be ready for action wherever you land. Looks like a proper gauntlet of monsters. The guide wraps up teasing next month's issue, where we'll finally face the mother of all monsters, Shub-Niggurath. Bring it on! This page dives headfirst into the world of WWF Warzone, and they've rather aptly titled it Spandex Ballet. It's a full-on preview of Acclaim's latest wrestling offering, promising photorealistic, 3D motion-captured action that captures the sweaty, spandex chows of the World Wrestling Federation. Apparently, this N64 GR Applefest lets you start as a rookie and climb the ranks all the way to World Champion, facing off against over a dozen of the Federation's biggest stars. The review points out the ridiculous throws, limb-stretching holds, and general theatrical mayhem you can expect. There are mentions of feuds being settled with weapons, in steel cages, and ladder matches. Sounds like good old-fashioned fun, eh? They reckon the crowd reaction is so genuine, you'll know who they want to win straight away, and the characters are modeled incredibly close to their real-life counterparts, looking massive and detailed, right down to the skin tones. They even managed to capture the main blokes, like Undertaker, Goldust, and Shamrock. The screenshots show various matchups like Ahmed vs Shamrock, Bulldog vs Undertaker, Hunter vs Ahmed Johnson, and even Stone Cold vs Mankind. Some cracking feuds in there. And look, there's a big shot of Stone Cold Steve Austin himself, looking ready to open a can of whoop-ass. There's a little box about Acclaim themselves, the publishers behind it all. It sounds like Acclaim really pushed the boat out to make this feel like the real deal, capturing all the action and the personalities. Looks promising. The next page carries on the preview of WWF Warzone. We see some more in-game shots, including a rather painful-looking move from Stone Cold on Triple H, Mankind battling Goldust, Owen Hart squaring off against Bret Hart, and even a cage match. Plus, there's a nice little look at the character creation screen, so you can finally live out your dreams of being a SP and X-clad warrior. The text explains that this game is apparently less about frantic button mashing, and more focused on realistic motion and strategy, favoring timing and skill. Which is a bit of a departure, eh? They list off some of the featured wrestlers, confirming you get all the big hitters. You can create your own grappler and delve into modes like the Royal Rumble and Gauntlet. N64 players even get Irish Tough Guy, Ken Shamrock exclusively. They promise authentic commentary, signature moves, and finishes, though they drop a quote suggesting the focus on realism might mean it's not the fastest game out there. A full review is promised when the final version drops. Looks like it could be a deep wrestling sim then. This page dives headfirst into Nintendo's big showing at E3, making it clear they were pulling out all the stops for the N64. The massive link image dominating the page, surrounded by Ocarina of Time screenshots, tells you exactly what the main event was. That game was absolutely everywhere, and rightly so. There's chatter from the Nintendo brass, like Howard Lincoln and Peter Main, oozing confidence about the console's future and the stack of new software coming. They're talking up their developer relationships, especially with Rare, mentioning their ownership stake. The big news there is Perfect Dark, Rare's next big shooter, which they boldly claim will have graphics and at least twice as good as the legendary GoldenEye. That's a serious statement of intent, isn't it? The page also gives a nod to other titles, like Banjo-Kazooie and Conker's Quest getting improved versions, and mentions third-party support is growing. Even a little Pikachu plush gets a look in, reminding you of the sheer breadth of Nintendo's universe at the time. It's pure E3 hype, focusing on the big hitters and promising a bright future for the N64 faithful. This page, titled Primetime, serves up a visual feast of what Nintendo had brewing at E3, packed with screenshots and character art that scream 90s N64 goodness. It follows on nicely from the previous page's setup, diving deeper into the games that were causing a stir. You've got a big old piece of Banjo-Kazooie art, celebrating the iconic bear and bird duo. Because who doesn't love a well-paired animal team? Then there's the star of Conker's Quest, that cheeky squirrel, with mentions of two-player action and getting help from his pet berry. The screenshots are all bright and vibrant, showing off the variety of worlds and characters these games promised. Nintendo's execs like Howard Lincoln and Peter Main are back, doubling down on the confidence from the previous page. They're absolutely buzzing about the N64's lineup, boldly stating it's better than anything else out there. There's a lovely quote about Zelda 64 being like a great adventure book, perfectly capturing the magic of Ocarina of Time, and they touch on Ken Griffey Baseball too. It's clear Nintendo felt they had the gameplay wrapped up. This page is pure E3 hype, selling the dream with colorful images and confident pronouncements about the future. This page dives headfirst into the buzzing world of Bumble in the Rumble, or as we now know it, Buck Bumble. It's all about killer bees on the rampage on the N64, and your Buck, a bee kitted out with some serious firepower. The main focus here is the quirky premise. A shoot-'em-up starring a bee? Brilliant! And even better, it's being developed by British legends Argonaut, proving once again that we Brits can absolutely make video games, despite what the Japanese or Yanks might be up to. The article takes a proud stance on this, referencing past Argonaut hits and highlighting Buck Bumble as the next one to watch. You get a good look at Buck himself, a rather cool-looking cyber bee, shown off in various screenshots buzzing around garden environments. The reviewer points out the scale of the world, built from everyday items like park benches, making everything look huge from Buck's tiny perspective. They also touch on the impressive engine that can handle hundreds of enemies at once. Buck's arsenal is mentioned too, from the standard infinite ammo gun to wilder stuff like a hairdryer, yes really, and player-guided missiles. The article rounds off by mentioning the sweet music, and that the game is nearly finished and set for E3. It's shaping up to be quite the stunner apparently. This page shifts gears entirely, diving into the world of International Superstar Soccer 64, or ISS 64 as we all know it. It's not just a review, oh no, it's a full-blown competition announcement, the ISS 64 British Championship. They're looking for the best players in the country. The idea is simple. Send in a videotape, remember those, of your best goals to prove you've got what it takes. Apparently, some chap named Jingliqua has already sent in a video and is qualified, which is nice for him. They need 3 more challengers to step up and face off against 4 N64 pro staff members, and Jing. There's a big section detailing the video rules, specific difficulty settings, opponent types, and requiring proof of your setup. You've got until July 30th to get those tapes in the post. The winner gets a fancy inscribed trophy, a year's subscription to N64 Pro, of course, and even a copy of the next game, IS-98, when it comes out. The runners-up get subscriptions and certificates. So if you thought you were a bit handy at ISS64, here's your chance to claim some glory. There's even a handy entry form provided right there on the page. This page pivots from the competitive soccer scene to the essential task of actually getting the magazine in your hands, all while dangling some rather tempting freebies. It's all about subscribing to N64 Pro here, and frankly they're making it look like a no-brainer. The big headline screams free, and you've got a choice. Get an official Nintendo joypad, remember picking your color? Or a free official Nintendo Rumble Puck and controller puck when you subscribe. That's right, peripherals just turning up at your door with your monthly dose of N64 goodness. They lay out the reasons why subscribing is ace. The magazine comes straight to you, no scurrying down to the newsagents, and UK folks don't even pay extra for postage. Plus you'll never ever miss an issue, which is crucial in the fast-paced world of Nintendo 64. There's an order form, naturally, asking for your details and preferred gift. They even show off the different colored controllers you might get your hands on. Blue, yellow, green, red proper classics. Payment options are all there, from checks and postal orders to credit cards, and they've even got a 24-hour hotline for credit card payers. There's also a little nudge about saving a $5 if you set up a direct debit. Basically, it's a full-page pitch to get you locked in for 13 issues, promising free stuff and magazine delivery convenience. Hard to argue with that really. This page gives us the hotly anticipated Peripheral Vision Top 10, finally revealing the magazine's favorite N64 add-ons. It's a rundown of the essential, the revolutionary, and yes, the slightly daft peripherals that grace the console. To absolutely no one's surprise, the undisputed heavyweight champion, topping the list at number 1, is the official Nintendo Joypad. The chaps here rightly sing its praises, calling it revolutionary and essential for playing classics like Super Mario 64, Wave Race, and GoldenEye. That analog stick truly changed the game, making the old D-pad look ancient by comparison. Working our way down, we find some familiar faces. The Action Replay pops up, the go-to cheat device for when you're well and truly stuck. There's a couple of steering wheel options, different rumble and memory packs vying for attention, including the official rumble pack of course, and various third-party pads. We even see the slightly bonkers game booster for playing Game Boy games on your N64, and the sheer novelty of the Interactor Rumble Vest. The commentary boxes underline the official pad's brilliance and feature thoughts from Nintendo heavy hitters like Shigeru Miyamoto himself, who lauded its multi-directional design. It's a cracking look back at the weird and wonderful world of N64 peripherals. This page is all about the smallest giveaway ever. Apparently the N64 Pro office is just giving stuff away because they have too much, yeah right? You could win some cracking prizes like those little pocket keyring games, which look surprisingly playable despite their size, featuring classics like Tetris or Space Invaders. Or maybe bag yourself some graphic novels, either the excellent Simpsons on Parade, showing off Homer and the gang, or JLA Rock of Ages, featuring some cool DC characters like Green Lantern. The ultimate prize, of course, is a year's subscription to the magazine itself, assuming you could figure out their trick question about how many issues they put out. Clue: they think it's one too many. You just had to answer a few questions, like the type of game Pocket Billiards is, or the name of Bart's favorite clown, fill out the form, and get it in before the deadline. Beyond the giveaway, there's also the usual spread of where you could grab the latest Gen 64 games and gear, including plenty of third-party pads and accessories, much like some of the contenders we saw on the previous page's peripheral rundown, and even a section for trading in your old games. The next page is a classic slice of the late 90s N64 scene, offering a chance to catch up on those essential reads you might have missed. They're flogging back issues of N64 Pro for a mere £3 each, a steal if you ask me. You can nab issues covering absolute cracking games like Extreme G, GoldenEye, San Francisco Rush, and even the mighty Zelda 64. There's a handy little order form at the bottom, making it proper easy to fill in your details and grab the ones you need. On the right you've got Pride game cases, officially licensed gear to keep your precious N64 carts safe and sound. They look decent enough, coming in packs of 1 or 3, though the price feels a tad steep for just plastic boxes, even if they do fit the game, manual, and even the controller pack in a nice touch. You can order these from UK Action, Limited. Decol. Below that is New Generation Consoles, clearly a massive importer or retailer, boasting over 200 import PlayStation games, and a massive list of titles for both PS1 and N64, all available for next-day delivery if you're keen. They claim to lead the pack with new releases, while others follow. Bit of a bold claim, but handy for getting hold of games you might not find down your local shop back then. Definitely the place to go if you were after something a bit different or from Japan. This issue's reader feedback section features a mix of insightful and humorous comments. A reader, nicknamed Dirty Old Man, jokingly requests explicit images while praising a World Cup wall chart, prompting a darkly humorous response from the magazine. Zipfile Boy highlights a similarity between two games, and another reader details a 4-player GoldenEye booster issue. A reader, Good Old Noely, praises the magazine's humor, but criticizes high scores and prices. Finally, a seasoned gamer, Soz Lads, praises the magazine's content, particularly Steve's snowboarding review, and questions the meaning of secrets in reviews. The section includes screenshots, pictures of a young Noely, and prizes for contributing readers. This issue's reader feedback covers subscriber concerns, positive reactions to a review, suggestions for brighter pictures, and a unified N64 review section, and anxieties surrounding the N64 disk drive. Readers also discuss genre-based game sorting, and the desire for simpler titles. An ISS64 player seeks recognition and competition details. Finally, a letter dissects the Atari Jaguar's failure, highlighting the importance of software over hardware specs. This page presents the ultimate guide to N64 gaming, kicking off with charts that pull together the top games according to the magazine and a consensus from other publications. It's quite the statement, putting Diddy Kong Racing and GoldenEye right at the top where they belong in their respective lists. No arguments there. Then we get into the meat of it, an as-run-through of various games, each with a screenshot and a little blurb giving you the lowdown and scores from various magazines. You've got everything from the sheer brilliance of Blastcore with its wanton destruction to, well, let's just say some games get a much harsher critique, like Clay Fighter, which apparently should have been binned at birth. There are the expected classics like 1080 Snowboarding and Doom 64, alongside some perhaps less memorable titles that clearly didn't impress the critics much. It's a handy overview, cutting through the noise to give you a quick feel for what's what on the console. And look, Bomberman Hero even gets a new entry fanfare. This page is quite the spread, featuring a rather fetching character from the excellent shoot-'em-up Forsaken taking center stage, alongside none other than Kobe Bryant himself, looking suitably impressed by what's on offer from Nintendo Sports. We're diving into more game reviews here, covering a mixed bag. You've got absolute corkers like GoldenEye 007, which is rightly lauded as the best FPS ever made on the system. Go buy it now, they say. And ISS 64, a football simulation so good it's a blinder and a footy fan's dream. Extreme G also gets a big thumbs up for its blinding speed and graphics. Doffies. Then there are the solid entries like Duke Nukem 64, a great blast but perhaps not quite Bond quality, and Fighter's Destiny, a decent fighter worth staying in for. Forsaken 64 itself is praised for its stunning visuals and intense gameplay, definitely a highlight. Even Kobe Bryant's basketball game gets a good rating for its realism and features. Forinton. But let's be honest, not everything is gold. We see some real duds too, like the disappointing FIFA 64, the utterly lifeless F1 pole position, and the bizarrely badass quiz game Jeopardy, which sounds about as exciting as watching paint dry. Dual Heroes and Hexen 64 also get fairly short shrift. It's a good snapshot of the highs and lows you could expect on the N64. This page showcases numerous N64 games. Highly praised titles include Lilat Wars, Madden 64, Pilot Wings 64, and NHL Breakaway. While Mario Kart 64 is fun, Diddy Kong Racing might be superior. Mystical Ninja Goemon is praised for its uniqueness. However, some games receive negative reviews, like NBA Pro 98, MRC, Quake 64 Single Player, Mortal Kombat Mythologies, and Rampage World Tour. Overall, the N64 library offers a mix of excellent and flawed titles. This N64 game review covers a diverse range of titles. Super Mario 64 is praised as a groundbreaking 3D platformer, while Wave Race 64's water effects and racing are highly commended. Turok, Dinosaur Hunter is a solid shooter, but not quite GoldenEye quality. World Cup 98, while realistic, is questioned for its value compared to previous titles. Other notable games include Top Gear Rally, Snowboard Kids, Yoshi's Story, and WCW vs. NOO. Weetrix is lauded as a top puzzle game, and Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey shines with its fast-paced gameplay. Conversely, San Francisco Rush receives mixed reviews, Tetrisphere is considered challenging, and Shadows of the Empire is a mixed bag despite the Star Wars connection. Some titles, like Wheel of Fortune, Wild Choppers, and War Gods, are outright criticized. The next page dives into what's coming up in the next issue. Top billing goes to the review of the Mission Impossible game. They've been waiting a while, so they're promising the first word on this potentially slick spy game. Big news too for Banjo-Kazooie. After all the fuss about Mario 64, they're claiming Banjo and his bird pal make it even better. That's high praise indeed, and you can see the dynamic duo looking ready for adventure. The page also teases a big preview fest based on E3. Lining up first looks at some serious titles like Turok 2, the intriguing Perfect Dark, Shadowman, and even Madden 99, plus more like Conker's Quest and Jet Force Gemini. Lastly, the lads have put together guides for the brilliant shooters Quake and Forsaken, so expect plenty of tips and cheats. Off to the side, there's a big section for the Special Reserve mail order service, offering games and consoles at discount prices.